All right, so now we're going to try some problems with two fractions. When you have two fractions, in this example, I'm going to try to get rid of my denominators. So I have two denominators. I have 3 as one denominator and 2 as my second denominator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get myself a common denominator. So what I'm going to do is I think to myself, what's an easy way to make these or have a common denominator, and also think of lowest common multiples in this situation. So lowest common multiple between 3 and 2 would be 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this side by 6. So that whole side by 6. And remember, what you do to one side, you must do to another. So multiply by 6. My stylus just doesn't want to draw my bracket over on this other side, but there we go. There's my other bracket. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of this. 5 times 6 is 30. That's nice and easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually expand a little bit, just to kind of make this a little bit easier, and I'm going to break it up into 2 steps for myself. So the first thing I'll do is I'll say it's still 6. 6 is multiplied by x over 3. I next say plus, I am multiplying by 6, and I have my x over 2. And I don't need to do anything else. So now I look to, and I'm going to kind of be able to, I'm going to combine 2 steps together. What I could do is I could multiply 6 by x to get 6x, and then reduce the fraction by thinking, okay, I have 6 over 3. How can we reduce that? What's 6 divided by 3? And that would be 2. The other way to look at that is to think to yourself, okay, I have 6 and I got 3. What I'll do is I'll cancel them out by dividing them each by 6. That leaves me with 2 x plus, and the same logic, I'm going to look over here. I see that I have 6 and 2. I could also multiply my 6 by x to get 6x over 2, but I could also just divide both by 2. So what's 2 divided by 2? That's going to give me 1. So that's going to be gone. And then 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So I'll then write my 3. And then x equals 30. Okay. So now I'm able to do my next step, which is 2x plus 3x equals 30. Because these are like terms, I can now add them together to get 5x equals 30. Finally, divide by 5, divide by 5. I run out of room. My 5's cancel out here. And x equals, what's 30 divided by 5? 6. And there is my final answer. The really tricky part is really this step right here, is just remembering to cancel out. You could also do this in the other way, where you multiply 6 by x and then, sorry, I'm going to just get my pointer out here. You could do this in a way that you take 6 and you multiply it by x, and then reduce by going 6 divided by 3 to get 2. And then you also do the same thing where you multiply 6 in here to get 6x over 2. And then you go 6 divided by 2 to get 3. And then that's kind of another way to move to this step right here. In this example, we again have 2 fractions. Notice we have our 1 fraction here and 1 fraction here. The tricky part now is that our 2 fractions are on opposite sides of the equation, or the equal sign. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to think of the lowest common multiple. The lowest common multiple between 3 and 4 would be 12. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to multiply both sides by 12. It's kind of nice that everything's split up over 2, so it's kind of nice and easy. I'll then draw my bracket. I'll multiply this by 12. I'll multiply this by 12. Same idea as last time, where now I can take and divide. So I can take 12. I'm going to divide 3 by 3 to make it into 1. And I divide 12 by 3 to make it into 4. So I'll just write that right there. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 2x plus 5 equals, again, I'll look at the other side. So I'm going to divide 4 by 4 to make it into 1, and divide 12 by 4 to make it into a 3. Take a second and you'll see where I write this. So I write my 3 right here. I then write bracket x minus 1. And I went from the 12 over here to 3 when I divided by 4, because I'm reducing that fraction that was formed here. Now what I'm able to do is I'm able to go ahead and distribute. So I'm going to use the distributive property. I'm going to distribute 4 into these brackets. And I'm going to distribute 3 into these brackets as well. So I'm going to distribute. So that's my next step. What's 4 times 2x? That makes 8x. What's 4 times positive 5? That is positive 20. What's 3 times x? It's 3x. And what's 3 times negative 1? Negative 3. Now I'll move my 3x over by subtracting by 3x. Good. The 3 minus 3x cancels out, it's gone. 8x minus 3 gives me 5x plus 20 equals negative 3. I will subtract 20 from this side and also subtract 20 from this side. If I can squeeze this in under the bottom. I can't, I'm going to run out of room, so I'll just move it up a little bit. So let's move up over to here, and I've got leftover. So after my positive 20 is subtracted minus 20 from, leaves me with 0. So I've got, just got to move my menu here. There we go. So I've got 5x equals, and I just look back over here. Let's get my laser pointer. I look back over here, and I think to myself, what is 3 minus 20? And what is negative 3 minus 20? And negative 3 minus 20 is negative 23. So this is not going to be a pretty looking answer. So negative 23. So the next step I'm going to do is I'll divide by 5. I'll divide by 5, and x equals negative 23 over 5, which is a perfectly fine answer. You could also, instead of having it as an improper fraction, you give it to me as a mixed fraction, and I believe you can take 4 groups of 5 out of 23, so that would be 4 and 3/5, and I can't forget about my negative symbols, so it would be negative 4 and 3/5, and either of these two would be a correct solution for x.